Shades of Grey after an hour. 50 Shades of Grey after an hour and 5 minutes. So this next little part is more the agreement and or just getting to an agreement and agreeing. So, okay. They did let's see the round one, round two. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing with that, boom, boom, boom. Then hold on, they was staying with the mom. Go for a walk. Okay. So they go for a walk. She asks him, how did he get started with the whole thing? Right? Like, so, okay, what am I trying to say? Okay. She asked him, how does he get started? Like, how did he get interested in this and that, boom, boom, boom. He said, now what I don't remember is him saying Mrs. Robinson, or I don't remember, I don't know whatever. But anyway, I'm not sure how she becomes aware of that, like that name or who that is. What anyway. So she asked, she said, how did you get, into this? What like, put you on, like made you start doing this, whatever. Cause so, mind you, the whole thing, she was like, which one of these cars is yours? All of them. Hop in the car. She was like, babe, he supposed to take it home. And then they stopped and he was like, let's go for a walk. So she asked him, how to get involved, the whole thing. Anyway, he says his mom's friend. He was 15 and he was her submissive for 6 years. So, and she's like, Mrs. Robinson, is that third? So he was like, whatever. I don't know if that's supposed to be a joke. I don't know what the whole thing was anyway. So then he's like, I was just like you. Like I was, worried or anxious or whatever this and that. And she's like, what made you like have a change of mind? He was like, you don't have to. He said it was safe in a sense of like, you don't got to think about what's happened, what's about that, just the thoughts and actions. You don't have to think about what's going to happen or this and the third, and you trust the person. I don't know. He was trying to say whatever. So he's talking to her. He's trying to, tell her like it's like she'll eventually like it or whatever. So he's talking to her, and then, but at the end of that, because she has some basically, that's what he was. He was, to the one lady at one point, and now it's switching. And then um, from there, they like he kisses her again. Then they goes to take her back home, and he was like, "All right, well." He pops open like the glove compartment or the drawer or whatever, and then he was like, um, here's the paperwork, here's the contract or whatever, and look over it and do some research or whatever." And he was like, email me. And she was like, my computer's still down and something. He was like, just think about it. And so he gives her the paper, and then um, she says something. Now she goes into when she goes in back into the house, um, he was like, "Oh, perfect time, this and that, boom." So, uh, Christian Grey had already ordered or had a person like come to their house to fix her computer, or I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if it was like fix her computer or he gave her a whole new, brand new MacBook. So he gives her like a whole new brand new MacBook, and he like sets that up or whatever for her. I'm not sure if he fixed her or, but it's a MacBook or whatever. I think it's like a whole brand new MacBook that he set up for her. So she gets that. As soon as she gets in, she kind of talked to her friend for a little bit. Her friend was like, what's it called? The other guy done called for you twice, and she was like, "What's that?" She was like, "Oh, it's nothing. Just some papers I left on campus and in the classroom." She's like, "Oh, okay. Well, here's the rest of the email." And she's like, "You look different." She was like, "I feel different." Of course you do. You know what I'm saying? But her friend Kate Kavanaugh, she's still dating Elliot, which is Christian's brother. She was like, "Oh well, Kate and Christian, Kate and Christian, no, Kate and Elliot are going to have dinner at the Gorge and then going to see I don't know what the fuck they about to do. They about to go out. The Gorge was mentioned, whatever the fuck the gorge is. Anyway, um, Kate and Elliot are about to go out. They're going to the gorge. They're having dinner, whatever. So she was like, "I love to say a chat, but it's out there, boo boo." Christian emails her. He was like, she leaves. Christian emails her. And he's like, "This is your computer. This is for you to. This is for us to keep contact, and this is for you to us to do. You do your research." So she was like, "Oh, is this what our relationship's going to be? You order me around?" He was like, "Yeah, I hope so. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what's supposed to be going on here." Um, so I'm a little with her. Little her demeanor ain't just whatever, right? So they emailing back and forth, and then she's reading, and she was like, "This is a binding contract between a submissive and a dominant, and you're gonna refer to me as Mister, Sir, or whatever title I tell you. Don't do this. You got to make sure you eat and stay and maintain proper health. You're not going to be smoking and drinking. You're not going to be." So it's like she's reading this whole little contract, and it's just like all these things of you got to do this, you got to do that, and then boom, boom, boom. And so she's reading the whole contract, and then they emailing back and forth. So I had to keep rewinding a little bit because it's like there was emails. I'm trying to read the emails on the screen. I'm trying to like listen and hear to what's being said, but all this is going back and forth. And then he was like, he has at some point, he asked her, "Are you ready for like your research or whatever?" And she's like, "Okay, what should I be researching? What should I be looking up?" He said submissive, and so I'm not sure if she had to type something in on the computer, and then like it led to a whole nother whatchamacallit. And from there, it was as she was typing on the computer, and then she typed in the whatchamacallit, and so like some images start popping up, and then he was like, uh, and as these images are popping up though, it was like submissive. Does a submissive agree to be gagged, tied, and this and the safe word to like if you're reaching your limit, then it use yellow. So and then at the once you do say red, and then that's supposed to stop and end things. So she's reading the she's reading the whole contract, and but you hear his voice saying like, "Oh, agree to this, agree to this, agree to be tied up, blindfolded, gagged, all this other stuff, right?" So he then sends her an email, and he was like, "All right, so basically like what you know what I'm saying?" And so she sends an email back, and she says, "It was nice knowing you." What? So she sends an email back talking about it was nice knowing you. So but in the process of all this, remember she was supposed to be moving to Seattle. So she moved to Seattle with Kate, and then from there, she moved to Seattle with Kate. Now she sends him that whole message, and then this on the third, she kind of like let it rock or whatever. He somehow ends up in the John, and he was like, "It's nice knowing you." Like he was like, "It was nice knowing me." And then he walks in with like a glass of which is like a little champagne glass or whatever the glass that has the stem. He walks in with one of them and his bottle, and he was like, "It was nice knowing me," and it's like that. So, oh, at one of her emails that said something about the tie or something like that. Because remember when he had first got to the tie, the mom had walked in, so I guess they never really fleshed that whole thing out. Anyway, so then uh, let me see. Hold on. Okay, she had I forget which part she mentioned the tie, but she mentions it. Either way, when he walks in with the bottle and whatnot, he sets the glass down. He was like, "Let me remind you how nice it really is, or whatever. How nice." And so he ties her up again. They ready to go. You ready to go at it or whatever. But so this time it's a little bit more intense than it was the previous time, or like they're finishing what had got started the other time. So ties her up. Well, he ties her wrist, which he ties to like the headboard or whatever, and then ties her wrist, ties it to the headboard, pulls. He's like, "Don't move, don't make a sound," and then you know rolls the shirt up to like basically cover her eyes. Then he takes a sip of whatever he had, and he goes to like kiss her kind of sort of. So she like, I guess because she was blindfolded at this point, so she didn't know that he was about to put like that he was basically giving her some liquor or whatever. And then he does the same thing. Like he has an ice cube, does the same thing, kisses her one more time, then rubs the ice cube all over. So it's like that foreplay, whatever. Then from there, let's see. Then from there, turn that thing over. You know what I'm saying? I have to admit, I have to admit that part was kind of lit. He turned that thing over, bruh. And you know what I'm saying? Got that thing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So that was I have to admit that was another good scene. That was another good scene. This movie, man. So there was that, and then like there was a couple other things that the thing was saying. So like she not supposed to touch him. She not supposed to do certain things, and blah 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 boom boom. So like, mind you, he's trying to tell her like, yo, I don't do X, Y, and Z. Like, you know. So afterwards, they lay in there, and she go to try to like rub on him and this and that third, and he grab her hand and like she's like, oh, what, I can't, it's against the rules, and this and that third, and then he's like, speaking of which, and she was like, okay, I still haven't made up my mind. So then he just gets up and he puts it, and she was like, oh, what about this? And he was like, I forget what he says about whatever, but he then like he puts his pants on and he just walks out. He doesn't kiss her, he kisses her on the forehead and he just walks out. This part was the next 10 minutes was decent. So there's still like of whatever. So basically, like she low key or high key, she didn't agree entirely. She hasn't agreed entirely yet. Now I will say, there are like little pitfalls that I would say are these. How do I explain? These are just like mental pitfalls of just certain things. So, and this is why I had said what I said in the last part. If this is her first, right? If this is her first, and this is the first guy she's been with, and this and the third, she's not going to easily just be like, oh yeah, it was nice knowing you. Like, well, I mean, he does come back over and they, you know what I'm saying, get right back into it, whatever's not there. But I just, but I do get that like, she was looking at all this stuff and was like, bro, what and this and that and like so I understand. I get that though. I get that. But another part of it though is the fact that for it being her first, that like any what about uh the emotional whatever that comes with a girl in her first. So I'm just saying she would be a little bit more agreeable, and she wouldn't be on some more like she was ready to just pass off and this and that, boom, boom. Because that's what she made it seem as if. She made it seem as if he was going to just like, oh, well, it was nice knowing you and this and that third. So it seems as if like in real life, I'm not sure about how X, Y, and Z for sure, but it would seem as if in real life, in actuality, like Shorty would be more agreeable and even on some because he does come full force, but Shorty would be like, all right, well, she will want to, try to inch into like, okay, let's try this or try that and just and do certain shit. So that's the only thing I would say about that part. That's just if you know women and how they are about their first, you just know that she ain't no whatchamacallit about to just give up on whatchamacallit. So she ain't about to just give up that easy on her first. So that's what I would say about that. That's the only thing I would say about that. But it's still there are still it's like an hour and I'm at an hour and 6 minutes actually, but I put an hour and 5 minutes just for as a title. But there are still a couple things like he hasn't used the stuff for real. So it's that. And I already told you, there. I just think that there's. I told you what I'm looking for her to do. Ain't no neck better than hers in the turkey. I already told you I'm ready. She need to. You know what I'm saying? That needs to be in the movie. If she ain't been doing, because he was like, well, you've done other things. And she was like, no. So there's just a couple little mental pitfalls. There's just a couple little mental pitfalls in this movie. But a couple other things are set up in such a way as like, okay, I understand this and a third. Like just the vibe or aesthetic of just that. Now, another thing I will kind of sort of mention, like, yes, they are, he's supposed to have like this, luxurious type of vibe. Doesn't all the way give that. Not all the way. There are certain little subtle things that it's just like, I understand that they're trying to whatchamacallit, like, okay, they had to rent this space or do this and the third, but it ain't whatchamacallit, it ain't looking like, you know what I'm saying? Like whenever you see him, you know, this nigga got money type shit. It ain't that. Like it's kind of sort of chill in that regard. He is like clean cut and shit, but that shit don't scream like, oh, this nigga got money, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? This like, yeah, they had the helicopter shit, but I don't know. Some parts of it seem like, you know what I'm saying? It, it's just certain parts of his shit seems like it should have like this like an extra whatever, or at least make it look a seven and a third. Like I said, I watched the James Bond movie the other day. When I watched that James Bond, I was like, this shit was expensive as hell. I'm watching the James Bond movie. I'm like, bro, they've been to 4 different countries, and this is the beginning of the movie. They had airplanes, tanks, and everything, bro. That joint was different. That's a little, but anyway, I'm gonna get back.